Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Please visit audiblepodcast.com/wizard for your free audiobook download.
Idle Thumbs. Games, video 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 games, video. Video games.
It's July 17th, 2013.
This is Idle Thumbs 115. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
I'm Nick Brecken.
And I got scooped. And I'm Sean Vanneman.
Hey, Sean.
We're all here. For those who didn't hear us introduce ourselves. It's been a while. What? It's been a while.
It's been nice, yeah. I see you guys.
It's been nice. Well, it's been nice not having all of us here.
Yeah. It's been a nice break.
Nick Brecken. Yeah, no, it has been a while since all four of us have been on the same podcast.
Yeah.
And boy,
Let's talk about that.
Boy, we're ready to talk about video games.
What have we been
right
up
now.
to since?
Well, we streamed some video games tonight. We streamed possibly the most opposed video games you could ever imagine anyone conceiving and developing. We streamed Viscera Cleanup Detail, which is
The pinnacle of competitive gaming.
clearly it's an Unreal mod developed by a team called Runestorm, and it takes place in a kind of System Shock or Dead Space like, or Doom like space base in space, where it's kind of near future sci-fi walls, but it's all covered with blood and guts and viscera, as the title would suggest, presumably from some Space Marines, bloody adventures. And all you do in the game is go around with a mop and some buckets and clean the place up and pick up gobs of internal organs and put
Found
them
an ear.
in buckets. Yeah. There's a weird little worm thing that's gross.
Yeah, like a baby intestine or something.
Yeah.
And then there's torsos and
You could find
arms.
an ear, a baby's intestine.
It's a very weird battle that happened.
Yeah. So if you want to, for some reason, watch an hour of Sean playing that and self-flagellating when he fucks up, you can do that probably at youtube.com/idlevideos. We'll have it uploaded to there. We do these streams before our podcast on Twitch every week, twitch.tv/idlethumbs.
I like that game.
Then...
No, hold on. Let's talk about this game.
Okay.
Because I want to talk about
go ahead.
something that's very, very good about
Yeah.
it, actually.
Please do.
Well, we're talking about you're cleaning up this entire level, essentially, of, imagine an entire Doom level with blood and guts everywhere, and you have to clean it all up. But you also have to pick up, the individual shell casings and rounds.
Right. Yeah.
And we talked about it on the stream, but this is what I like about video games that are good, where, the scale of that round that I have to walk all the way across the room to pick it up, walk it all the way back across the room, and put it in a barrel if I don't choose to move
Although
the
you
dumpster.
could have put the barrel
Right, I could have
closer
moved
to
the dumpster closer
shell.
to my work, but that's not important. You're traversing so much space, but you're interacting on such a micro scale, and those two things make me very happy about video games.
Yeah.
And we joked, and if you watch the stream, it's hilarious. And how mundane the game is, but it has just out of the gate some really, really core fundamental aspects about it that make it a really great game, or the foundation for what could be a really great game. And it's something that a $30 million counterpart to that game would get completely wrong.
Yeah, for
actually,
sure.
the game that game is about would get it wrong, and then this game would get it right.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean the game that this game refers to by implication?
Right.
Would get it wrong. Yeah.
Right.
There's something. I can't remember if I brought this up on the podcast recently. I probably did, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But there's small games have the luxury to be about specificity and scale in a way that it seems like big budget games generally don't, because they have to be so much about one particular kind of scale, on one end of that spectrum, that in order to justify the insane amount of money that it takes to develop and then which in turn they need to make back through an enormous audience. It seems like a lot of the time you just kind of give up the ability to be specific on the other direction and have the kind of smaller scale that allows that deep dive.
The thing is, when people flirt with it, everybody loves it. I think.
Well, that's like the beginning of Half-Life 2 was the first time that I actually had ever experienced that in a meaningful, or at least, well, there was no meaning, but in an interesting way in a game that I wasn't expecting it in. When you end up in Dr. Kleiner's lab and you're like, you knock over the TV and you can look through the Honey, I Shrunk the Kid's magnifying glass at his big face and like knock a thing off the table, and he says, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I knocked the thing off the table and a guy cared. Anyway,
well, just the very beginning where he's like, "Pick that up." Like,
oh yeah, that's right. That's true. The first thing the guy does is tell you to pick up that can.
But I would say like Last of Us has like I'm still playing that game and I might be done. Yeah, but we don't need to talk about that.
That was the I might be done theme.
Yeah, our follow.
Might be done.
I might be done.
On a country album I'm putting together, but well, that game does that really. Like, my criticism of the game is nothing about the game; it's about the actual. It's not about the stuff that's inside the game; it's about how much of that stuff is there in relation to the other stuff. It's like a bad cocktail, like it's like too much mixer or something. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't have the balance of interacting with little things, learning little bits about the world, doing the small scale survival stuff to get to the next area or to accomplish an emotional goal, in turn with the bombastic shoot a boss. I don't like I said, I don't mind that it has bosses in it. I don't mind that it has zombies in it. I just don't like the balance. I'm having a really hard time being like, just get me back to the stuff that I was enjoying before. We've talked about that at length, I think.
Well, there was a really
and that's
good.
Kind of, sorry, but we kept saying like I think this game is too long. I actually don't think it's too long. I think it's the balance is off. I've been thinking about this for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
I guess I meant given the balance they chose, it felt too long for me. But yeah,
right.
You're right.
And I feel like the balance is more.
The length exacerbates that, but
yeah,
at the core of it, yeah.
Like the balance between combat exploration and small scale world interaction, that I think is the problem. Like is sort of an inherent sort of systemic cultural problem of big games as opposed to they can't do small scale interaction well.
The small scale things.
Like when you said you found that note, right? That crumpled note.
I was thinking about that note while you guys were talking, but that's.
And there's like
what if there was one of those every like 40 minutes in that game though?
Well, no, I know that's what I'm saying. I wish there was more of it.
Yeah. And the beginning was great. There was a really good article that was. This is like it requires you to have read a bunch of stuff, like specific other things, but like. Tom Bissell did a good piece about this game a while back, and then someone else recently, a few days ago, did sort of a rebuttal to his, and they were kind of describing Bissell as being kind of an apologist for games that just kind of brush away specificity, and that's most big budget games. The person was talking about how Bissell was saying this game has a great deal of subtlety, and it's about this this emotional relationship between these characters, and about the you having to protect her and take responsibility for her, and this and that. But also, the game just kind of makes it so that she can make whatever amount of noise. It doesn't matter, and the zombies aren't going to see her, and she's kind of a non-factor. Like she doesn't do any of these sort of escort mission stuff that is often frustrating in games. And Bissell was saying, well, it's good that they did this because it made the game a less frustrating experience. And the person rebutting this article said, well, then how is the game even really about that if the game is just deciding not to even tackle it at all? If it's just saying, well, games can't really do that or they're just frustrating, so let's just not do it. And I agree with that entirely, which isn't to say I think they should have just made a bog standard kind of escort mission, whatever. But it's more that, like, if you do claim this is what your game's about, like if you make an entire game that's about this thing, like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of accompanying this girl and like being her surrogate father figure and forging this bond and like presumably taking responsibility for her safety, but then just brush under the rug all of the implications of that in a game, but do still think it's important to like menially move ladders and boxes around and stuff. Like it's kind of just it's
an allocation of resources, really.
Yeah, and it's a bummer because I feel like every time I bring up this game, I'm picking on it for things that every game does. Which is true. Like
that gets you back to the
this
crux
game
of
is
the
really a
Bissell,
much better example of almost
Bissell.
everything it does than most games of its type are. But because of that, because it's good in a lot of ways, it really highlights the things that is just like, no, just look over here. Video games, I don't, you know, like it's a bummer because someone like Tom Bissell is writing. He writes for Grantland. This was the rebuttal was a lot about how Bissell's writing for.
That
in
was
some
kind of my
ways.
issue with the rebuttal, actually.
Oh, really?
I thought the rebuttal was more of a. It was kind of putting Tom Bissell in the center of a broader argument about games reporting and games digestion in general, and I thought that was kind of unfair to Tom. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fair in the sense that he is writing for a mainstream publication that presumably knows that a fair number of its readers are not going to be video game people.
Right.
And it does sound like a lot of the time when he writes, because he's written a number of articles with a similar kind of thrust, and it does feel like a lot of the time he's sort of talking to an audience that doesn't know about any of this stuff and is sort of just saying, is sort of making excuses for games essentially and saying like, well, you know, it's games about this thing, but like, don't worry about it. It's not really about this part of that thing. And it just seems like publicly lowering the bar for what games are capable of by not addressing, by saying they don't need to address the things that they're about.
Sean's making the wishy-washiest face right now. He's literally a wiper on a car.
It's so hard for me because I don't think this article is on medium.com, which is actually a really great site. It's so hard for me to divorce. I thought this guy was just kind of being I don't think it's a fair criticism to level at one writer, especially when you take into account the specifics of Tom Bissell's place as a game writer in the industry, like him writing for Grantland, the audience that he is paid to write for. If anything, he's probably doing a service, I think, for games and getting that audience to pay attention for 5 fucking minutes.
Well, that was the point, though. I think that was the exact point the person was making.
But I just don't feel like
you're advocating almost on false premises when you do things like that.
I don't think it is false premises, because I don't think that's the way. When you read enough of his work, that's the way he experiences games. I think he experiences games very differently than we do on this podcast. Like, I think the menial, I never read him as an apologist. I read him as a guy who takes the bullshit game stuff that we hate so much and doesn't seem to hate it as much. I don't know. That's just, I feel like it's sort of a takedown of the way he experiences a game, and then making that emblematic of the problems with the game industry, and that kind of pissed me off. But I don't think any of the criticisms were wrong. Yeah. But it's a good article. You should check it out for sure. And it's hard to get all the way back to Last of Us now, or back to Viscera. But the things, when I was picking up little things in Last of Us, and especially in the beginning, and finding the small details of the world in context of how expansive the game it felt from the moment it started, I was really taken by it. And I instantly felt that way in this silly 10-day mod, this mod that these guys made in 10 days. And I think we feel like that about a lot of games. I think that's why we like Far Cry 2. It's been we have like a 17 episode moratorium on Far Cry 2. So
it's an accident, though. For what it's worth, the article that guy wrote is called "Where is Wisdom Found and How Can We Kill It?" And that article also links to Bissell's Last of Us review, so you can get both by googling that. I didn't play Viscera Cleanup Man game. I just watched you play it. Did it have? It seemed completely different from Surgeon Simulator, but also the replication of a really weirdly specific thing seems similar. Did it have? Was there any crossover there, or is it just other than?
It's actually the complete opposite.
God, I was about to say other than gloved hands, but the surgeon does not wear gloves.
No, he has to feel everything.
Janitor wears gloves, though.
Yeah. Hold on. I actually think they're the opposite.
I agree with you that they're the opposite.
They're the complete opposite in that everything you want to, your brain says you want your hands to do in Surgeon Simulator is a Herculean task.
Yeah.
And the Viscera Cleanup Detail is actually really, really well. The gameplay mechanics. It's just like I want that.
But what you have to do then is just clean up 4 million specific bullets with the really simple to use mechanics.
Yeah. It's like almost like counting beans on the table. Yeah. Super fast. Yeah.
Viscera Cleanup Detail skips over the complexities of the mechanical part of it to get at the actual sensation of performing the task, whereas Surgeon Simulator makes even the most basic interaction so insane as to just make the entire exercise comical and ridiculous. You know, they're both great. They're both totally fine.
My parents watched the stream
of which one?
Of Surgeon Simulator. My dad calls me, and he's like, what the fuck was that? He was like, you're an idiot. Excuse me? He's like, well, you can't do anything. First off, you're breaking all that man's bones. You killed that man. And he's so fucking serious.
Really?
Dead serious. Because he's like, don't you understand anatomy? You got to get past the lungs. You got to the heart. It's going to be just to the left side of the thing there. And then you got to cut the things. Like, what are you doing?
So he was giving the game full, like he was assuming that the game was actually totally accurate.
It was actually a surgeon simulator.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Right.
He took the name completely. Yeah. What did he say? Oh, it was so funny. And then he's like, you're not even wearing gloves. And I was on the phone with him and like, I think I had to go somewhere and I was like making a sandwich. So I got like the phone pinned to my shoulder. I'm like, yeah, Dad. Yeah, no, Dad. It's like, so now think about it, right? Never plays anything. Doesn't know anything.
Watching that video
and trying to explain.
He probably
to him,
read Tom Bissell's article about how this game was high marks.
I was reading the New Yorker, not my dad. Yeah. I was setting fire to some New Yorkers with my Republican friends, and an article fluttered into my face. What was I going to say? But like I'm on the phone, and he's just giving me like this is just classic dad. Like just classic see on a report card. This see on a report card bullshit. You know, like no, you don't understand. It's like the thing. And finally, I just heard myself say to him, Dad, I was trying to move all the fingers at the same time. Like that's the only way I could figure out how to explain to him how difficult
impossibility of this task.
I was like, Dad, try to move each one of your individual fingers are like controlled, but imagine if each one was controlled by a different brain. Each one was. You had to talk to all of them.
If moving the fingers on your left hand made the fingers on your right hand move, but in the opposite order.
Yes, and he's like, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, anyway.
There's no frame of reference to even begin.
He's like, I couldn't even watch that. That was sickening. I was like, Dad, I gotta go. I love you. Goodbye.
How was your dad watching? Why did your dad watch this? How did he find it?
What happened is I got my dad an iPad mini for Father's Day. My sister and I did, or his birthday, whatever. They're close together. And so he created a Twitter account to just follow my shit and
crazy.
my sister.
God, my parents have never done that.
Right. So, and like my mom is like super into. My mom is like the nouveau digital mom who just is like cutting out the clippings, you know, but like pinning them to whatever fucking thing.
Pinterest?
Yeah, sure. So they still talk from time to time. So I think my mom had seen this and thought it was really funny because my mom's like, you know, macabre, but yeah, she was like, "Oh, that was just a lovely tribute to your friend," and I was like, "Mom, that's really sweet of you to say."
Yeah.
I don't know if lovely is the word I would use, but I think fitting and sincere.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Your dad's like
That was bullshit. You killed that
fucking
man.
garbage surgeon. Get out.
Guess it's good you're doing this video game bullshit, huh?
Yeah. Could have never been a
trying to save
doctor.
lives.
Yeah. And it was just
That Russian cartoon man died because of you.
yeah.
Any surgeon knows you take the fucking baboon heart out, put it in the metagun, slam the supercharged thing onto it, put it in before the bird gets in there or whatever.
Well, I asked him if he saw that because I figured that was the best way to explain that what this
Just the
game
tongue-in-cheek
was.
nature
Yeah,
of
I was
the
like, Dad,
game,
did you
yeah.
see the later one with the big guy? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, there was the big guy, the bigger guy that you had to get his heart out. And he's like, no, I stopped watching after you killed him. Man, so much other stuff. It was good.
There's no way your dad. If only my dad would have kept watching. Until
If only my dad would have watched 90 minutes of Surgeon Simulator.
If only my dad had watched our genuine excitement when we put a VHS cassette in a Team Fortress 2 trailer played. If he had kept watching through that Anyway.
But the games are the opposite. Yeah.
Huh.
You should play...
I guess I'll clean up a corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good games.
Hey, also, we played Street Fighter 4.
Super Street Fighter.
Well, I wanted to be-
arcade
Jake
edition.
really enjoyed this
that
game.
No, Street Fighter 4, you can watch us play Street Fighter 4 and watch Nick beat all of us on the stream, but it was really
Pro-
just a...
sick pro
Yeah.
skills.
It was just a seg to talk about Evo.
Yeah. I watched a lot of Evo this weekend.
I only watched
I watched one match of Jigglypuff.
Yeah, I watched
match,
five
probably.
minutes of Evo, and it was
Yeah.
the Super Smash Brothers Melee part.
Yeah.
and
We put him out with sleep. You love that. At the very beginning.
oh man, You can talk about real Evo in a minute, but I'm going to talk about Super Smash Bros. For 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's only because I don't think I've ever actually watched like
Pro
grade Smash Brothers before.
Right.
It's nuts.
It's pretty nuts.
It's nuts. It's so different than any other pro fighting game because of just like the amount of
Yeah.
airtime is crazy.
Oh
Like
my god, the juggling.
watching the juggling is crazy and the dodging is crazy. Watching the person
Yes.
who's playing as Jigglypuff basically just float in the air and dodge
know.
like 10 laser beams from Fox.
Most of that
I
game,
didn't understand that was
Yeah.
a thing you could do.
Yeah. No, I know. Most of the Smash play was in the air.
Oh.
Like just like the percentage wise,
Yeah,
the players were
that's
just
crazy.
jumping.
I didn't
nothing.
catch any of the Smash.
Seeing
I gotta
seeing
watch it.
people play Pro Smash makes me understand what everyone who plays StarCraft
Yes.
or Fighting Game or Dota sees
Yeah.
in watching pro streams because I'm watching all that and understanding
understand it, yeah.
understanding what they do, knowing I can't do it, and then at the very end of the match when Jigglypuff kills someone by doing the move that makes him fall asleep or makes her fall asleep, and launches the other person out, which is just the ultimate FU closing move is Jigglypuff.
Right.
That everyone has laughed about since we were 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
I was happy that I understood what was happening, and it was weird.
Yeah.
I felt like not an old person for the first time ever watching an esports thing, but sadly it was the novelty esport.
No, I think
No,
Smash
this-
is pretty competitive.
Within
Yeah.
Evo, it's kind of the novelty
No,
esport,
you know,
though,
no,
right?
you know what the novelty esport is? Competitive Catherine.
Oh, yeah.
This is a thing that they did at Evo 2012 or something. I guess
They did it at Evo?
I don't know. The video I saw said Evo 2012
Oh, weird.
Catherine qualifiers.
Oh my
I don't
God.
know if they actually had a
bizarre.
real tournament, but there was something that was. They had commentators and everything. It's that crazy Atlas game, that like weird dating / puzzle / platformer / adventure game.
Yeah.
That I guess has a
Is
a
it
head-to-head
speed runs or
multiplayer
something?
mode where
Oh,
you like
what?
climb up
Yeah.
a wall and like pull boxes out.
I've
and
played
like,
the demo of this
try to
game.
keep
I
the
mean-
other guy from climbing up as fast as you.
It's the puzzle component, really.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
I've never played the game,
Yeah.
and I saw someone linked from it was maybe the Audible forums, or maybe the NeoGAF Audible forums thread, a commentated competitive Catherine match, and it was crazy because the commentators were doing full on commentary, and they were sort of predicting. They were calling. There's like, all right, now what he can do here is like pull out the dark block, and like, oh, and he did it. Oh, and the crowd is like
Yeah.
cheering. I'm like, what is how did they find people?
yeah. Well, you know
How do
what's
they
funny?
get commentators that know that? How do they get a crowd that knows to
Right.
respond to
Yeah.
that happening?
Yeah.
What's funny about like the rise of Dota and StarCraft for me, that just essentially becoming esports as a whole, is I forget about all the strange videos I used to watch like 6-7 years ago of like competitive Tetris. Did you ever watch those crazy videos? Of
Oh,
people playing?
yeah.
Yeah. Is that still happening? Like, I would love to know whether there
in
are actual
Japan, I don't
tournaments. Yeah, like that stuff. I bet if somebody streamed a crazy man like playing Tetris,
We just need the like
we would-
ESPN 10 of
Yeah.
you know, like
that's what was cool about Evo though for me. It was just
I guess it's just
watching
the internet.
Yeah, but Evo just felt like a tent for. I mean, they were all fighting games, but it was nice that it was, like, God, there were like 6 games, I think. Like,
Yeah.
it was insane. Just the variety of that and the way that community all just sort of, gravitates towards certain games, but
Right,
still
right.
sticks around to watch everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of nice.
that is
It was
really, really
refreshing.
cool.
Yeah, it was like I can imagine, like
Well, because
walking to.
they're much more unified than most other like blocks of esports.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but
Well, you're not going to have the biggest MOBA gathering that is
Yeah.
Dota, Dota 2, League of Legends, and
Right.
Heroes of New Earth. Those are not all going
It's
to
a
be
pretty
under one
unique
roof.
thing, but it was cool. to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, it was totally awesome. I watched. I went to Dear Mom, which is a local bar that hosts a lot of professional games events for some reason. Streams of them, and I watched some of the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff.
God, that game
Yeah,
is insane
it's like
to watch.
insanely
It's
busy, and then
incomprehensible at first. You can't tell what's going
Yeah,
on.
and then I went. I left after a while. I watched a little bit of it, and I went home. And then later on, I turned it on, and Street Fighter 4 was on, and it was amazing how much more comprehensible it
Yeah.
was. Because one, they play in the like completely Spartan.
They play in the Aperture Sciences level.
Yeah, the training stage where
Yeah.
it's just a white box basically, and also just everything in it is more readable. Like the characters look like
Yeah,
people basically, and I mean I don't know. I guess in Marvel Capcom 2 they're obviously people, but everything about it just seemed way crazier and way flashier and
It's-
full of stuff. It was
it's
weird.
very very fast. But you know what's funny though? I enjoyed Like I tuned into the Capcom stuff and just thought, oh, this is like I can't follow this. This is baby. This is a baby. I can't watch this baby garbage. And then after
I love that Nick Brecken, like, I can't follow. This is too complex for me. Baby.
Well,
baby
no, it's
garbage.
just, it looks like
babies.
it's just I don't know. It's got that anime aesthetic, and it's just
sure.
oh god, it's hard to.
Yeah.
But after about 15 minutes, I started to really get into it because the commentators were pulling me in.
Yeah.
And after a half an hour, I was just like, oh, like Justin Wong. Like I was losing my shit. Like it was actually once you start to break down what is important in that game, it actually becomes a really interesting like piece of strategy because it's not about the specific like hit necessarily. Like people are playing like 3 characters down the line, which is more akin to something like Dota or StarCraft, where they're thinking ahead about overall strategy, which I feel is more interesting than just watching 2 guys hit each other at the end of the day. Like they had build orders of characters. Like it's kind of like Dota, like they're drafting 3 characters before they play the game. No, there's a drafting phase. They match, characters to each other. There's that Dota component to it.
Is there a courier? Is there a donkey that brings them treats?
But yeah, just there's a lot going on in each of those rounds, and it was really fun to watch. And then also just the actual tournament was really good because Justin Wong, who was like a fan favorite, got to the very last. He came back. He won like 80 matches in a row to get to the
to get out of the losers bracket.
Jesus, and then he had to win one best of 3 or best of 5 to erase his losers bracket debt over the guy that eventually then beat him after. It was heartbreaking, but it was fantastic. Like 150,000 people watching. It was insane. Like
when we tuned
really
in, there was 140,000 people watching on Twitch, and we were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
it's watching absurd. Smash Brothers.
Yeah, watching Jigglypuff.
Watching the thing Nintendo didn't want them to stream.
Exactly.
Which is bananas.
What a
ridiculous.
Smash Brothers being streamed on Evo this year surely is just moving Wii U's in a couple months.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Why would it not?
Yeah.
It's not going to sell GameCubes.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it will, but not. I don't know.
So did the pro scene just skip over Brawl?
Brawl's not really well regarded, I don't think.
Okay, I don't know enough about it to know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know. I think that game's fine, but I think that like
Melee
Melee's the one that like
Melee's
that really. I think
I was stuck around.
Had any actual scene around it at any point, and I think it's the one that's stuck.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's like Counter-Strike 1.6 of Smash Brothers.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool though.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching it. It was fun.
Yeah.
It felt to me like the World Cup or something, because I know that I already don't play enough of the stuff that I feel like I should play. So like there's no way I'm going to start like playing a fighting game, but like I'll watch this every year.
Yeah.
Like I'll get into it for the one time.
I know there are a lot of fighting tournaments. Like I was looking at Wikipedia pages for players while this was going on, and like there are a lot of competitions, but they don't seem to be broadcast in the way that Dota and StarCraft are at this point.
Every Saturday morning is League of Legends and StarCraft and Dota,
and I don't ever see like an MLG. Like I guess MLG they must do some fighting stuff, but it's just I'm not getting exposed to it, so. It seems like Evo is just the one thing
like the big deal.
That even,
Do you think that after Evo was this huge this year on Twitch,
it seems
do you think that means that we're going to end up seeing pro fighting people and Twitch working more to sort of try and
I would be shocked if that wasn't the case, because it was a huge increase. It was like a 50% increase over their numbers last year. And I don't, I watched
between this year and last year, Twitch totally blew up though, and streaming just
that's true. But I watched StarCraft, and it doesn't get anywhere near what this weekend did. And even if you got a third of those viewers, like that's still a pretty good weekend for.
Well, I wonder if it's the difference though, because I mean, you likened it to World Cup, and like World Cup does insane ratings, but.
America doesn't care about
like
soccer.
FIFA qualifiers, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like there was a bunch of soccer this weekend.
The international is surely going to just go bananas.
I watched Iraq and Ghana.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Right.
I watched Iraq and Ghana.
Well,
play this weekend. It was good.
Yeah.
I think look how many baseball games they stream. Like you're not going to fill a stadium.
StarCraft. The only thing I compare it to is StarCraft because that's what I watch.
But
they sell out a lot of baseball games. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. StarCraft seems to have a regional sized competition every 3-4 weeks, and those do well. They don't do amazing. And then there's the Blizzard sponsored WCS finals that does really, really well. I think it seems like
but I mean that makes sense, right? Because that makes sense for StarCraft, which I pay closer attention to than any other esport. I still don't watch every tournament. Like I watch the really major ones.
I wonder what the international 3 numbers are going to be fascinating because there's so much sort of mystique and hype around this one. I don't know.
Yeah.
At this they've done a very good job at marketing it.
And
Even
the game's going to be out.
even
Dota's out. Dota 2 is out.
out.
Yeah, it's been released.
The game
you
came
can get
out.
some trading cards when you play it. Oh, dude,
Oh,
did you
man.
see that shit?
What?
Okay, I gotta take down Steam trading cards for a second here.
Steam trading cards takedown?
Somebody sent me a note today.
Oh, are you talking about...
I'll tell Nick.
Can I trade Lee for Clementine? What's
No,
happening?
somebody sent me a note today and said, my friend was playing episode 1 and got this trading card, and it's a trading card for the title of episode 5, No Time Left Behind, and it says, "We blah, 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 blah." And he got that playing episode 1. Sorry, spoiler.
Oh,
Guy,
You just did it.
Oh, you
Tag in
just
there.
spoiled everyone. That's fine.
Can you fucking believe that?
Oh,
It's like,
That's
congrats
incredible.
on... Here's what you got in your deck. A spoiler for the final chapter of the game.
Because it was
What?
randomly chosen at intervals. Like, they're
Yeah.
not even linked to anything.
I don't know.
That's incredible.
Who's to fault here? I don't
well,
know.
God.
Do developers submit the cards? Does Steam...
Because I could
are
be
those generated
taking a poo on
tied to
somebody
Steam?
else in my work right now.
Developers must submit the cards.
But then-
so.
Yeah.
But you don't know how they're going to be implemented or how they're going to be doled out.
That's-
Like, you know, if you're
that's-
somebody, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to give.
Yeah.
I can imagine one of the 5 people
Yeah,
who submitted
yeah,
these
sure.
cards at the office was probably like, "Oh, this
it's
is
like
like
an
the achievement. You're just going to get this when you complete it." So it's like, "Oh, I'll write some recap text because that'll be nice. You remember what it
It's
did."
just the... that particular card is just the marketing
I
content.
imagine there's 4. Yeah, I think it is just the marketing content. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a spoiler for the chapter also. Whatever. Anyway.
Still, can you imagine? Oh,
I can imagine because someone tweeted that to me and I was sad. As far as Evo, I think the World Cup analogy is totally the closest because fighting games, it is one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, I played a little Street Fighter
Yeah.
when I was a kid,
Right, yeah.
so I know the rules.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
with like
Soccer practice.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
No,
like
no,
it's,
drinking a juice.
fighting games, I
having
think
some
actually
orange
maps
slices.
surprisingly close to soccer in the minds
Yeah.
of at least like our generation. Like every
Right.
kid that I knew played soccer from the ages of 6 to about like beginning
Yeah.
of junior high. And then no one played soccer after that except the high school team.
Yeah.
The same way that everyone played Street Fighter and then didn't.
Right.
But now you're like, oh, this is the biggest and best fighting event of the year, so I can just spend a couple hours and watch people who are amazing
Right.
at
It's
this.
like, oh,
Cool.
I used to play that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
know enough
that's-
about that to watch it.
And it has that appeal in a way that I don't think StarCraft
I agree
is
with
ever
you.
going to be like, oh, I used to have that guy in the dorm who played a lot of StarCraft
right.
and was weird. I don't care about
Well,
this.
you know why I one of
How
the reasons I
dare
agree
you?
with you, just like based on
That
personal
guy's not weird.
experience,
you and Chris.
is that I didn't even like. I played fighting games when I was a kid, basically as frequently as I play them now, which is every once in a while I'll be at someone's house or
Right,
whatever.
but
and
you
they
can
go,
internalize
but I
the
didn't
basics of a fighting
right.
game.
I didn't grow up going to arcades all the time or anything, so I don't even have a nostalgic component for me. It's just like, wow, that was actually pretty compelling and like high energy and
Right.
cool, and I can comprehend it basically.
It's also 2 health bars, 2 guys who
it's
look
very
vaguely like
simple in
humans
concept,
kicking each
but-
other until their health goes down. So like
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
person, that maps very much to when
Yeah.
the ball goes in the goal on the left, they're doing well. When the ball goes in the goal on the right, they're doing well. You got this. That's all
Right,
you
there's
need to
tons
know.
more subtlety
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
that, but if you don't know about that subtlety, you can still basically enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
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 It's weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
Whereas
I
I,
think-
I wouldn't watch Pro StarCraft if I didn't play StarCraft.
I think
mean,
a lot of people do though.
I don't know about a lot of people. Some people do, I'm sure.
It seems like it's growing slowly as a spectator event, but it's not. I mean, yeah, I've enjoyed it occasionally. I still don't
Yeah.
entirely understand it, but
I mean, I think people do. I mean, I think a lot of people have played an RTS in the same way that they have played a fighting game.
it's probably people who have played through a StarCraft campaign in their lives and have internalized the mechanics will then watch real people play
At the sa-
StarCraft.
Well, yeah, but like Marvel versus Capcom, that has that's if you watch a round of that, it's you just because you punched a man means absolutely nothing in following that.
Yeah.
Street,
Well, that's
Street Fighter is really
That's
the
why
sort
I
of
preferred watching
viewers.
Street Fighter, because I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I basically understand the parameters here.
Right. Yeah, I think they just track to different.
yeah.
Well, no, I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom seemed like it was huge, but I imagine
Yeah.
it's particularly huge among people who actually play it and know the characters well and stuff.
I guess so. Yeah. I think also just
I like it when
people see it
Spider-Man
as
wins.
the predominant.
Is that the big one right now?
I think it seems like that's the sense I get. It's newer than Street Fighter 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. It's deeper. Whatever's popular, people will watch to some degree, right? But yeah.
Well, right, but the fact that it's popular means more people are also playing it.
Yeah. Sort of, maybe. I don't know. I think with Marvel vs. Capcom, I think that's just a case of the game is good, so it's just what people are playing, and
in the zeitgeist.
I don't know what the sales numbers were on that game. I wouldn't be surprised if Street Fighter outsold it by a huge margin, but that's the Marvel vs. Capcom is still far more popular. And I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass now because I have no idea what the actual fighting scene is. But yeah,
people like the game where Venom is in it.
Oh yeah,
and also
the Hulk,
right,
and Mega Man.
Is Mega Man in it?
Zero
Capcom.
is.
Mega Man Zero.
You know what I'll definitely say about the fighting game community is that what?
No, I think just this. You're setting yourself up for just like
a brick flying through our window.
If there's one thing I'm going to say about the fighting game community, just
it seems way more diverse than the people. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Like I know
that was actually
like, gender issues and stuff recently, but like racially, holy shit.
No, I know.
Way more diverse than
even amongst the commentators. That was a really interesting thing.
Well, among everyone, among the players, among the people, obviously in the audience. Like I did a search on Twitter for like certain keywords just out of curiosity. Like I searched for like Justin Wong, like when he was going through his thing, because I'm like, I wonder if like what the world looks like of people who discuss this all the time. Because I had like little bits of it sort of seeping through the cracks in my Twitter feed, but like I don't follow a ton of fighting game people, so you know it was just little bits here and there. I'm like, oh, I wonder what people actually like, what it's like to follow a bunch of people who are also part of this scene. And it was just quite clear, just like looking all of the thumbnails of people's avatars and stuff. Like it's a way more diverse community than many parts of like sections of the games industry, be it press or players or developers or anything. It was really fascinating.
That said, another thing about Evo, a lot of those guys were American, which you just never see in
StarCraft, for example,
like RTS,
and in like Dota increasingly.
There's like
it's
really
that's
and anytime there's an American playing a StarCraft match or in Dota, a Dota team, it's just the viewers just skyrocket. Yeah. So I mean that's another thing that helps Evo, I think.
Dota's interesting in this that like Americans have really adopted Na'Vi big time.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fun to watch.
Video games.
So thanks to our sponsor, Audible. Go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard and for your free audiobook download. And the book that we were going to recommend this month is also the Adult Book Club book for this month. Mm-hmm. And that is The Sun Also Rises, as read by William Hurt. Mm-hmm. Chris, you were halfway.
And as written by Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah. You're halfway through this book.
I'm loving this book so far.
This is my third time through this book.
Yeah.
I have never read a book 3 times. So maybe I'll listen to this book for a 4th time. Hit the all 4 corners here. Mm-hmm. But you liking it?
I really am liking it a lot. I'm curious to talk about it with you guys.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting things to talk about.
It's definitely my favorite Hemingway book. I've read like 8 Hemingway books, maybe. I've read a lot of them, plus short stories. And this is definitely my favorite one for a myriad of reasons. But it's a quick read.
For myriad reasons?
For what? I said a myriad of reasons?
No. For myriad reasons.
Oh, really?
Oh,
little Out of Book Club tip for you there.
Kill yourself. I say it to myself, not to you. Really? That's how it is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's an adjective. It's not a noun.
It's a gross thing.
Oh, my God. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This whole time, huh?
Yeah. What can I say?
No, you've said everything you need to say. Yeah. But it's an easy read, but you'll be listening to it because you'll get an Audible podcast.com/wizard.
Where you get a free audiobook download and also a month of their subscription service for free.
Listen to a bunch of books.
Listen to as many as you can.
Listen to every book on their entire site.
All of them.
Do it.
Well, as many as you can listen
to
within 30 days.
No, just listen to all of them.
Atlases.
Get multiple MP3 players and multiple iPhones
and multiple browser tabs.
Yes.
Yeah. Do the thing where
I bet you can't do it.
So,
baby,
you need 4 listening devices. 2 of them have earbuds. 2 of them, or one of them has headset. You put one earbud from one of them in one ear, one earbud from a different one in another ear, another headset on top of that. You got 3 books going at once.
And then also just in the room that
you're in. Just an ambient book also, so that when all of them land kind of quietly, you can hear a 4th book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you don't
summon the ghost of Ernest Hemingway if you do it with 4 Ernest Hemingway novels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the only way to summon the ghost of Hemingway.
Yes.
I would recommend just listening to and
Ghost of
enjoying
Hemingway, as seen in Gone Home.
a book that you like, and not doing.
I would say the
what
sun also rises. Yeah.
Nick.
It's also a good summer read. It's going to
Yes.
make you want to travel.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm still selling the book, but I don't need to anymore. Anyway, thanks to Audible.
Listen to that book.
And again, go to audiblepodcast.com/wizard for your free audiobook download.
Yes.
Oh, go there. I just wanted to keep
Gone
this going.
there.
Video games.
So, should we talk about Civilization 5?
Oh my god, I've been playing so much Civ 5.
Yeah. It's still a really good game.
Oh, it's so good. This expansion, it was yesterday was when I discovered that the new expansion, Brave New World, is amazing. It is so good.
So tell me why it's amazing, because I'm playing the game like I've
what
always
year are
played
you
it,
in?
and
yeah.
I'm up to the World Congress. Like I've seen.
Well, for your
most of
playstyle,
the new mechanics.
it might be the same game.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, because you play a much more militaristic game, and I think this expansion,
It actually punishes me more. That's what I've noticed. Playing that way. Oh my god.
That's probably intentional.
I'm sure it's intentional, because this is a patch. This is effectively a nerf of that style of play, I think, because people were specifically bummed out that it was so
oriented
military.
And it's for pay DLC.
Yes.
Well, it's an expansion.
It's an expansion pack. It's like a
It's a very
classic.
traditional expansion. Like,
I just want to be clear.
civilizations,
Just being clear for our
yes.
readers here.
Yeah.
Huge new mechanics. Like the World Congress, I actually think is amazing, and the trade routes I think are huge. Like it's in the early part of the game, they don't really come into play very much because there isn't enough like global commerce and diplomacy to matter.
Just transportation in general, yeah, probably.
It's an economic thing. It's not a transportation thing, but or the trade routes anyway. But Civilization as a series has always rightfully taken a hit for really getting bogged down in the late game, where a lot of the writing is kind of on the wall and you're kind of just going through the motions. It's definitely true. It's never bothered me that much just because the way I play, I'm super non-militaristic and super non-expansionist. So I'm usually actually pretty happy to just kind of keep going through the motions because I'm just building up my own cities and kind of, I always play very much a home game in Civ.
God,
But
that's weird.
Yeah, same here. I'm with Nick. I get like really kind of full of Civ. I'm like, okay, I see the status quo of the world now, and the simulation isn't going to go deep enough for me to reap any sort of like really nice benefits from what I've wrought thus far.
Well, if that's
So
the
I'm
case,
just sort
apparently
of
Nick just goes to war.
I don't think that's Nick's.
Oh no,
what
that's
you're-
actually not what I'm saying.
Oh, really? Because I stomp a bunch of people, and I'm like, okay.
I see.
Then I'm like, what else is left for me here?
Right.
I'm like,
Well, so what happened? God,
I know what I need to do to win, so I'm just going to do those things until I'm done, and I'm just going to keep stomping people until I get there.
Yeah, I definitely get to a point. Like I played this game before the expansion came out, just to sort of check it.
Did you have Gods and Kings at that point when you were playing?
Yeah. And that I definitely with Civ 5 in particular got to that place a lot. Like that was definitely my experience with Civ 5. God, in my playthrough of this expansion, I don't know, it's punishing me so much. It's actually kind of hilarious and is maybe making that good, but for a horrible reason. Like I always start out just by biding my time, building up an army, and then around like 1200 AD, I'm like, all right, it's time to take out my neighbor and expand. It's just like the time that you go to war in history, and I absorb one guy. And in the original Civ 5, like I was playing as the Shoshone tribe in my playthrough, and in the original game, like if you absorb a guy, there aren't that many systems that are going to punish me for that. Like you got an unhappiness nerf on your cities, but other than that, like it was.
You can massage that out over time.
You could pretty much weed it out. Oh my god, it's been a disaster. Like, so I did that, and then every other Civ declared war on me, which is pretty much what happens anyway. Like that's what happens in vanilla. But after that got done. The hilarious thing too is they went to war, and then I defeated their armies, and they all sued for peace and offered me cities in the process, which is a horrible place to be in because you're taking on an unhappiness debt.
Yeah.
Because you can't even if you raise the cities, you're basically adding unhappiness. So you may as well just annex them. And so I was at like a 54 unhappiness debt or something. and they were just offering me like Mumbai, like, oh, here, have Mumbai. But now I'm completely screwed. Then through that unhappiness debt, rebels sprung from the hills. Just for hundreds of years of rebels just taking me on and just destroying my caravans and just wrecking havoc. Yeah. And then the World Congress was formed. Yeah. And I was like, oh, thank God, I've got all this territory.
But you're the evil dictator when
I'm
the
evil
Congress
dictator.
is
this is perfect. I had one goddamn delegate.
Yeah.
And the first thing put on the table was, let's just embargo all trade routes with the Shoshone. I was the only nay vote. I was fucked. Like, I made like negative 100 gold per turn. Like, every city is deeply unhappy. There are rebels everywhere. Yeah. Like, it's just mayhem. Like, there's no coming back from this. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, I have the most territory.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just Rome. I'm just like the barbarians are at the gates. Like, there's nothing I can do. Everyone's pissed off, and I've got no money. Like, I got no way to get out of it. It's hilarious, which I guess good for Civ 5. Like, I feel like that's probably what needed to happen.
Yeah. I mean, now you know, though, right? Like, you just know that you can't just operate in your default way. Like, that's
right. It's just a different. It's a different mode.
So now that exists, you have to develop the underhanded, covert evil.
Yeah. Well, so
now it's actually even worse.
You got to get 21st century
being Saddam Hussein and being some sort of manipulator deep in a bureaucratic system of, oh no, this is what we're going to do.
Right.
You have to become a politician, the darkest evil.
Yeah. Well, so basically, I haven't done any diplomacy, and this is obviously a ramification.
I've been doing a lot of diplomacy. It's been good. So I started playing as Venice because I was really fascinated by the idea. Like, Venice is a city-state in vanilla Civ 5. And you can actually, and city-states in Civ 5, for people who haven't played it, are just individual, like, sovereign entities that only have one city, and you can, trade with them and interact with them, but they're never going to expand beyond that one city. And so you can play as one of them, Venice, in Civ 5, which I thought was very surprising. I'm like, you just have one city the entire game?
It's a really interesting...
So I played it. It's not quite that. You can't create settlers, which means you can't found your own cities.
Is this a new thing in this?
This is new for Brave New World, yeah.
Okay.
You can't capture other people's cities. You can't be given cities or anything. But the one thing you can do is you, through various game conditions, a merchant of Venice will appear in your city, and that character can just buy another city-state wholesale. Just the entire thing. But
you can also make them puppets, though, right? Can't you go to war and just make that city a puppet?
Oh, I haven't even tried.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you still have the option to...
Because the other city-states you take on are also puppets, which means you don't have direct control over what they do.
Right.
So the one thing that is the case is that you only have one city for the whole game over which you have full control, where you can build whatever you want, where you can assign worker priority and buy new land and all that stuff. So it's interesting. But there's also new mechanics, trade routes, which are where you can build caravans or cargo ships and send them on routes to other civilizations, other cities, and trade gold and science production and things like that. And so I ended up really, really... One of the things that was potentially cool about city-states in Civ 5, but didn't quite ever provide enough return for me, was the ability to ally with city-states, because your influence with them decays over time, and it felt like one of those things where you were just constantly feeding money and stuff into this like paper shredder, basically, trying to keep these city-states happy to be your allies. In this expansion, Venice gets a bonus to that, and like there's things you can do to sort of double down on your commitment to city-states. And if I start a new game, I'm going to really just do this right from square one. By about like the 1700s, I realized how valuable it was to have all these city-states on my side. And I got into a situation...
For like trade purposes, or what was
For trade purposes, and because when the World Congress forms, you get not when it first forms, but like at a certain point in the sort of life of the World Congress, allied city-states give you an extra delegate each because they'll vote on your behalf for any resolution on which you're voting. And that becomes really powerful. What's interesting is you don't get... If you actually like annex, or if you actually buy a city-state and it becomes part of your own civilization as a puppet state, you don't get an additional delegate for it because it's just part of your civilization,
Right.
which just as one member of the World Congress still just gets the one.
So if you keep it in your pocket, it's fine.
Yeah,
Let's
which
use
is
this in
interesting
Nick-friendly language.
Yeah. And so it was actually a really interesting balance because there were times where I would let other civilizations like keep their hold on city-states, because if you sort of basically bribe a city-state out of control of another civilization, like that to them is actually a diplomatically aggressive act. And so there's like city-states that you can trade with. There's city-states that are your ally above anyone else's. Then there's city-states you've bought outright. And like managing the kind of balance between those three I found to be really interesting. Because eventually I got to the point where as long as I could convince one other civilization to vote on my side in the World Congress, which is also a thing you can do, you can actually trade for other civilizations. You can offer them sort of diplomatic exchanges in order for them to vote a way that you want in the World Congress. Like I could get to the point where basically me and Polynesia, like us together, could just roll anything in the World Congress. Like 7 other civilizations be damned.
So you became a weird backseat world power.
Yeah, like Polynesia was the undisputed superpower of this spawn. Like the world was really interesting. It ended up getting like Germany was my constant aggressor the entire game. Germany was on my border, and like Bismarck was just giving me shit constantly. And at a certain point, like in the 1300s, starting around there, I got embroiled in this like 300-year war with Germany, just constantly chewing up my units. But I was positioned such that there was just a single choke point of a valley, to where my city-state was.
Just filling up with bodies.
Oh yeah, it was just the killing fields. It was gross. But what I eventually did was, as this war was raging, like I slowly built up a like block of half of this, like roughly half the civilizations in the world. So it was like me, Polynesia, who else? Me and Polynesia were the big ones. God, I can't remember the other two, but there were us and the 2 others that were like one big kind of alliance, and then there was Germany and like Korea and 2 other civilizations, Persia and another civilization that were all. And so I basically just slowly worked all the diplomatic angles with my my buddies for a while. Eventually got them all to sign defensive pacts. When there was, or as soon as Germany signed a temporary peace treaty with me, I signed all my defensive pacts with everyone else on my side. And then as soon as Germany attacked me again, the other half of the world all declared war on Germany. I then made peace with Germany, and the Iroquois just rolled in and like took over half his cities, and I was already like fully allied with them. Like it was just a really amazing feeling of like 500 years of diplomacy panning out in like a really cool way. It's not that the rest of the game was like I'm still in this game, and I don't know if I'm actually going to win or not because I don't know exactly what victory condition I'm going for, but it's been really interesting. And like Germany's still there giving me shit, but like he's severely hobbled. And I then, when it was my turn to introduce a resolution to the World Congress, I imposed a tax on standing military, which really pissed off Germany, but I had enough votes to just push the whole thing right through.
Yeah.
And like all that stuff working together was really satisfying. Like it's really, really cool. It felt like an enormously like beefy, set of additions to this game.
The one quick thing I'll say about it is that I still feel like comparing Civ 4 to Civ 5, a lot of the things that Civ 5 is now doing that Civ 4 did, it's just not doing them as well. Sure. Like the culture stuff, just not visually represented at all on the map.
Culture, I agree
and
with
that
you
just fucking kills me because in Civ 4 it was done so well. Yeah, the way that you could see your culture boundary and you would just use a great word.
They still have that in Civ 5, but yeah, it's not nearly as
it was so good in Civ 4. And then, what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, I don't know. They're just they keep adding systems. Oh, like the trade system, like the caravans. I feel like I'm just kind of clicking on them and just going through the motions on those, and it's just another thing to do. And I like I like the ramifications of them, but I don't actually like the implementation of it. Like it just seems like they more or less could have been automated on a slider or something in some way. Whereas,
what do you mean?
I don't know. Just I feel like that system as a whole is so apart from the rest of the game that it feels like something.
I always make sure to like
I mean, I'm building them constantly, but that's not something I ever like doing in Civ. I don't like to have to remember to keep building the same thing over and over again.
You don't need to remember though; it'll prompt you if you have an empty trade slot.
Yeah, I know. It's just the repetitious nature of it seems excessive. Anyway, I don't know. I do like this game a lot more now that they've added a lot of that stuff in, but it still doesn't feel like it's quite what Civ 4 was for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Civ 4 is a game that's pretty untouchable in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I like the trade route stuff because it has a huge, at least in the game that I played, it had a huge impact on my diplomacy with city-states and stuff like that. I liked it a lot. It allowed me to, as Venice, or with a comparably smaller civilization than all the other civs, it made me feel like I could operate on a sort of economic equal footing with the other civs. It may be less meaningful in a more traditional civ.
Yeah. Cool.
I know what that sound.
That was the ghost of this episode.
That was the ghost of our readership.
Do you guys want to do some reader mail?
We could.
Some spooky reader mail from you, the ghost.
Yeah. This haunted reader mail is
reminding you to play Gone Home.
Yep. God damn it. I was going to say the same thing. This haunted reader mail is brought to you by Gone Home, the ghost game.
Gling.
Ooh. So scary.
Chris is doing sound effects for
There is a spooky
Gone
reader
Ghost
mail
Home
about playing games that don't end in death for Jake.
Oh, there's a few of those. Yeah.
Pick your 2 finest.
Do you want that playing dead?
Huh?
Someone had some suggestions for games which don't end in death.
I'd rather we just actually tried to compile those together and see what's going on.
Okay.
The one about the actual medical simulator is huge and kind of insane. I don't know if it's just a story about a thing that is real because of someone who heard us talking about real surgery simulator.
Do you want to just read it?
Yeah, sure. This email is from John Walton of Jefferson Medical College. Saying, hey, Thumbs, I'm a medical student going into surgical subspecialty, and I heard your recent cast involving Surgery Simulator 2013. When you started talking about what future versions might look like with the Oculus Rift and co-op, I thought, holy shit, these guys don't even know that they're already training junior-level robotic surgeons like this. I got to tell them about the Da Vinci Simulator.
Of course, yes, you do.
I hope the guy exclaimed that entire thing as he. Holy shit!
hand
These
on
guys
forehead.
don't even know that they're already training junior-level robotic surgeons like this. I got to tell them about the Da Vinci Simulator.
He lives in a dubbed anime, actually, it turns out. Basically, as robotic surgery has become increasingly common, Intuitive, which is the company that exclusively makes the robot surgery units, has begun selling robotic surgery simulators that help surgeons familiarize themselves with the controls. They're essentially overpriced tutorials with exercises to show you how to move your hands, switch between different arms in the patients, and so. He says he's going to send us some footage if he can the next time he's in the lab. He says he thinks we'd love to mess around with it. For one, the hardware is fucking ridiculously nice, 3D HD view, beautifully responsive controls. Second, some of the training exercises are just absurdly designed. There's a challenge where you have to pass a ring along a string and periodically lift these giant tongues that are waggling down over the string. Obviously, there's no anatomically similar situation, but the designers decided to make it more realistic, and I guess tongues were their version of crates.
More realistic to what?
Just you want some anatomy in there. So you have tongues hanging over the string that you're passing a ring through with a robot hand in 3D HD. This is my dream situation. This is what I demand.
Say that.
Future of
And he said,
games.
This is actual dreams you have
Yes.
when you're sleeping, and something you would love to
and also
encounter.
what surgical medical students learn.
Yes.
Oh, also it's about $85,000 to $90,000 for one of these, which is just a PC that hangs off the back of a robotics console and has PS2 quality graphics and a broken physics engine governing the movement of suture. I thought he said it was cool.
I thought he said it was HD and awesome.
On one hand, it's cool just to get to use, but on the other hand, it's kind of bewilderingly jank. Anyway, surgical programs are kind of interesting, and I just want to let you guys know about that. Yeah.
We misspent our Kickstarter money.
Yeah, why didn't we spend $90,000 on a ring string robot tongue simulator? Ugh, missed opportunities.
Thanks, man.
Second Kickstarter.
All right, that sounds pretty awesome. I hope he actually does send footage.
Yeah, I would really love to see
wanna see what
whatever
that
this
looks
is.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to do?
I really like that story.
Yeah, I know.
It was really nice.
I was pleased that guy wrote in about that.
Kevin Hainline says, After watching your Dark Souls stream, I've spent the last day thinking about the abundance of seemingly empty pots, crates, and barrels in that game. Why does this sort of thing crop up in so many games across so many genres? Why don't game designers move past this weird archaic throwback? Is this just a part of video game vocabulary we have to accept? Am I just obsessed with insignificant details? Kevin H. Also, similarly, why is it okay in video games to go up to a salesman, destroy his wares and the pots around him, and then have him talk to you like everything's a-okay? Why do we become sociopaths when we pick up a controller?
One, this weekend we streamed Dark Souls, which we didn't talk about on this, so check that out on our YouTube account. Two, I feel like this is subject matter that was covered by Penny Arcade like many years ago. I don't know. Did you?
Well, also by Old Man Murray.
And Old Man Murray, yeah. Oh, the thing about going and raiding someone's yard reminded me of that Penny Arcade of the Zelda Wind Waker characters who are confused about Link finding the rubies in the pots.
Yeah.
This feels like ground which has been tread, and the answer is people are lazy, I think.
Well, it's also like you need to do something to make your world look like it's been inhabited or that it's full of things, so it's not just empty rooms, but then you can't have the things.
But also cubes are so cheap from a vert count standpoint, so you might as well just put a bunch of cubes in there.
And you can't have the things not respond, or it seems really, really artificial. So, okay, they should be destructible, but then how are ramifications going to work? Is this one of those weird game design things that just like happens because of a series of like other smaller problems, and then it just turns into a weird convention that every game has now?
A really good
I guess
convention.
That's why. That's what comes to mind.
Bad
for me.
design Darwinism is what you're saying here?
Yeah, but like part of it is you can understand why they happened in the first place. It's just stuck around for so long, and like people still, I guess, just don't have any better ideas.
Like your spleen.
Like, at least in an action game, the only verbs are like destroy things, right? Like it's different in a game where you have more subtle interactions with the world, but it's like
gone home, spooky ghost game.
The part of that game where you get the like Ghostbusters pack, God, so good.
It occurred to me today talking to Steve that I am retiring from the game industry because the next game that Jake and I make, no matter what it is, Steve is just going to troll us into oblivion about it having ghosts in it, and I can't handle it.
Yeah. You'll just have to put a ghost in it.
That is really the only solution.
Yeah.
Have it just be called Ghost. Have it be an adaptation of Ghost.
Oh my gosh. An Oculus Rift ghost game where you just have your arms around
the pottery.
Demi Moore. Yeah. Is that who's in that movie?
I don't know.
Yeah, and you're just making
but that game will be
Which
called...
you then have to roll through and destroy?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. First you make the pots, then you let them dry. But that game, it's based on the Ghost game, but it's sort of like an intimate look at that specific scene in Ghost, so we really think that it needs a subtitle. Ghost Gone Home. Based on the hit movie Ghost. It's easy.
All right. Well,
Done.
we'll get that license in then.
That's going to be actually a bundleware with the final non-dev version of the Oculus Rift.
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
A ghost pottery simulator?
It's everything you need. Cool
everything
graphics.
You need.
It's actually, you only get that if you get the what are the hand controllers?
Cool it's everything you need. Cool graphics. What?
Demi Moore?
What?
Real-time pottery physics.
Takes a lot of computers to sculpt that clay. Got to use those Microsoft Cloud servers.
Yeah. What if you play
a million simultaneous pots?
You can play this on the Xbox One while you're watching Ghost on your Xbox
This
One.
is actually DLC for Ghost.
The cable pass through, and it just layers elements of the game on top of that actual scene from the
Your
movie.
Xbox One has detected that you're watching Ghost. Would you like to download Ghost Gone Home for 200 Microsoft or whatever it's money now for 99 cents?
The Kinect would be perfect. You just stick your arms out and just
Your hands then come out from behind Demi Moore inside of the screen.
And Patrick Swayze.
And Patrick Swayze also just
saw a third pair of arms come around.
Ensconcing both of them.
Oh my god! And you just fuck up their pot.
God,
just stick your finger in it. Carve a nice trench right across it. Spell something as it's spinning.
Gone home.
On the rare occasion that somebody else
into that pot.
On the rare occasion that somebody else in the world is also watching Ghost on their Xbox 360.
Well, this just goes apeshit when Ghost is on TBS or something. This is just a nightmare. Right. When that one scene has 4,000 fucking blurry video arms coming into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's like the Super Meat Boy replay, but it's just everyone's ghost.
Yeah. I'm on the Xbone hype train now. This is happening. Presumably. I mean, I
Premium
assume this is gonna
content
happen.
for just existing TV is the thing
You're
that will
like
make
half
that.
a
yeah.
step away from.
No, that's-
from.
Think about
from
how-
the Jurassic Park.
how
like you're
bad
half
and
a
how
step
good would
away
that
from
be?
just your arm. You're half a step away from that.
I know. When you're
you want.
when you're watching Jurassic Park, it scans your arm and replaces it. Oh,
and
it's you.
are
you, and she just
Dr.
looks into the
Mr. Arnold's
camera.
arm.
Yeah.
All right.
she's-
Instead, she says,
This is the worst.
but she
like-
doesn't say, "Oh, it's you." She actually says, "Mr. Arnold," right?
Mr.
Right.
Arnold.
But
Yeah.
it says Jake Radkin or whatever, Jake of tomorrow. She reads your gamer tag
Mr.
name.
Rocket. Yeah, right.
Ratso Fatso Rat. Yeah, they actually got Laura Dern in to read all the
Right,
phonemes
yeah, yeah.
necessary, like to do that.
Also, there's never any warning when any of these things happen. They just occur in the middle of just whatever's going on in the movie. So they just whatever position your arm is already in is just hanging down off the thing. That's just what it is.
Just eating a
Well, it's
sandwich.
just live video, so you can just be going, your hand can just be
can
gyrating
do
wildly.
what?
It's just going, woo!
That's not good.
Yeah. Man, we all got fucking back off talking about this
Dumbest
bullshit.
Surprise! Idle Thumbs becomes most excited when talking about most idiotic, worthless bullshit.
How can all the hardware attached to your stupid game console ruin everything else? That's what we love! We do. Man! Robot news. Did you guys see the new evolution of the
segment.
Boston Dynamics
No, I
humanoid
haven't
robot?
actually.
Yes.
Wait, is this the one that
came
opens
over?
is this
The
the one that
Atlas?
opens the door?
Alice,
No,
the one
no. The one that opens the door is just a GIF. That one's amazing. No.
That's the new evolution.
I don't know.
No.
The new evolution is they finally realized no subtlety is required.
No, it's Boston Dynamics is still doing their same
They got
fucking
a balancing
shit.
one. It's awesome.
No, I
Because
haven't
you saw
seen
the
this.
Pet Man that was the
Yeah.
big dog, but like the biped. It's just the guy that walks around. The new one's
Right.
called Atlas,
It's a
which
full
is
man.
just like
It's not just the legs. It's a full man.
no. Pet Man was a guy.
Pet Man was a full
Oh, no,
guy.
Pet-
I
Pet Man
only
was
saw
a
Pet
dude.
Man at the bottom. I made it. I thought
Yeah.
that's what made it the creepiest. Is the fact that he was just like hips
No,
down.
no, it's a full dude.
No.
Okay, I saw something
Full
else.
man.
Yeah, you saw something else. No, Atlas is the new terrifying robot that will destroy us. Boston Dynamics is totally just fucking building Terminators. This video
Yeah.
it's when the Big Dog video first came out, which now was like 8 years ago or some 9 years ago, but when that fucking dog robot slips on the ice, then like
then
catches
recovers?
itself.
Yeah.
So imagine that with a free walking humanoid robot that's walking
no.
upstairs, and then a metal ball hits it, and it goes whoa and balances on one foot, and then just stands back up and keeps walking.
Oh,
or
no.
like it's walking on the
Oh, no,
ground.
it's happening.
It's walking on the ground, and they slide a
Lock
2x4
your goddamn
under it,
doors.
and then it just goes, oh, I don't even notice that. Like it just. The 2x4 is a human skull that it ignores as it continues to walk. It is nuts. And then the final part of the video is it flexing and then twisting its wrists around in non-human ways. Like it just goes and just like brings its arms in a menacing pose, and then its wrists fucking start spinning around 360 degrees. If its eyes lit up at the end of that,
Right.
that's it.
In the last 3 frames of the video, like
Just-
right before.
right, you just see the LEDs like go 25%, 33%, 50%. The like star flare starts to show up. Cut.
Yeah.
DARPA, and that's the end of the video. Oh my god. Yeah, it's named Atlas. Also, it's the next
Yeah.
one is just going to be named T300, and
You know
we're
what's
just
ridiculous?
done.
What we're going through right now is the thing that happens in like the flashbacks of stuff like Battlestar Galactica. I don't remember if that actually
yeah.
happened. in
It's the
Battlestar Galactica.
flashbacks
but
of
it's like,
Terminator.
Yeah.
oh, is that what Terminator?
But
happened? Yeah.
they
I
just,
just
like-
couldn't remember what thing.
The
did
first
that.
ones were too much like robots, so they covered them in rubber skin that dogs
Yeah.
could smell. So then they started building ones that had an actual layer of human flesh. So
We're
next,
just going through that in slow motion. We're living.
it's not even that slow.
I just mean we're living the pre-assembled montage
Right.
Yeah.
now. Like someone's
Yeah.
going to cut together the last 10 years.
The thing is, 10
make
years
that-
from now, we will not be enslaved by these robots, but we could, 10 years from now, clearly just take audio from Terminator 2
Yeah.
of Sarah Connor just saying whatever I say about those fucking robots and that, and then just cut all these Boston Dynamics videos
Oh, yeah.
together. When they released...
Actually, that's how Battlestar Galactica ended, with a montage of fucking weird robots.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But when the next one of these comes out, and instead of it being painted matte black, it's just like polished chrome. And once
Right.
But like, oh, the new one has 2 cameras in its face, so it has 2 lenses. It has eyes But you can tell that the technology required for the imaging stuff is too large, and like we're at they've hit the extent of it. So the head is still like 3 times bigger than a human head. But 2 years from now, that's going to fit inside a chrome skull, like guaranteed.
Yep.
And then we're done.
Yep.
It just needs.
Oh, we're finished for sure.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once they have the video of that building another one of itself. Then look at these precision hands. They can tool things up to like 0.01 microns.
To replace our assembly line with more robots.
Oh man, why didn't I think about that till right now? That's obviously next. They're gonna have the video of the precision hand on it and how it can tool things, and then it zooms out on what it's tooling as a big dog. Like it can build primitive earlier versions of itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have nothing to say about it other than
nice knowing you guys.
It's so amazing. It's so horrible. Robots. It'll actually show it navigating 3 dangling tongues and passing a ring through a string.
God, the one where it busts through the door is incredible, though. Like
that is not a first man. That's just the shittiest
I know,
robot.
but it's hilarious because it demonstrates it doesn't matter. Like it's a robot with like a little like pincer arm that is sort of delicately.
It so carefully turns the key or the handle, right?
A handle of a door and starts to push it open, but then it cuts to the other side of the door, and the robot just straight up busts through the door, the wood splintering.
I know, it's
as
so
it like
good.
fails to properly hinge it, and it just.
The precision movement is good for 2 things. One of which is climbing up the stairs to kill you, and the second one is torturing you without killing you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the only 2 reasons that a robot can do that. It can twist your tooth out, and you can't do shit about it.
Yep.
Ugh. I hate it. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. This has been Idle Thumbs episode 115.
Good luck and
Good night and good luck.
But. Ooh ah. Ooh ah. Ooh ah. Ooh ah.